understand the importance of effects when creating music, but what happens when you decide to dedicate your entire modular rack to just effects? Well, that's what I've been doing for about the past year or so, especially for my live performances. And in today's video, I'm going to talk a bit about why I decided to do that, as well as breaking down my rack kind of module by module, and talk a bit about the pros and cons of this approach, as well as some of the techniques that you can use to make music in this way. So if that sounds interesting, then stick around, hit that subscribe button. And also, if you like any of the sounds that I'm using in today's video, then please check out my Patreon, where I will be uploading the drums and keys, etc. And yeah, let's check it out. So my modular journey started around 7 or 8 years ago when I bought a Dope for A100 case, which has 2 rows of 84 HP, I think. And I was attracted to the aesthetics of the whole thing, the wires, the flashing lights, the mysterious modules, and also the possibilities of designing your own system. And I wanted to design a system which I could compose full tracks on and perform live with. So obviously over the years there were a lot of different iterations. I had braids, telharmonic, Bassimilus Iteratus alter, is that how you pronounce it? For drums I was using Peaks for a while, and then I had Pico drums. I had 2 of those, and I was controlling it all with the Beatstep Pro. And whilst I enjoyed the sonic explorations that I was having, it was not very fruitful for compositions or like full tracks. And I think a part of that is because I was only working with monophonic oscillators. I remember being very excited back in the day when Qubit announced their chord module, which probably should have been a sign that I wanted to play chords in the normal classic way. And so I reached a point where I kind of realised if I want to do what I want to do, I would have to considerably expand on the size of my rack. I would have to have like a wall of modular and one of those really complex systems. And I didn't really feel like I wanted to do that. I do love when other people do that, but it's not really for me. And then the OP1 came along, and I found that I was using it more to compose on, and the modular was being kind of, I would maybe use one oscillator to do a bass line or one for a sequence, but I wasn't building my tracks on there and adding stuff with this. It was the other way around. And when I put this through the modular, through the effects that I had at the time, I was really loving the sounds that I was coming out with. Made a decision at one point that I'm gonna downsize. I'm gonna sell my case, which wasn't even that big a case, and focus more on the effects side of things. And having haven't actually looked back. In fact, it's been the opposite. When I figured out what I wanted out of my effects case, I started just being able to write songs, like so many songs that were just pouring out of me. Even for this video, this little idea here took about, I don't know, 2 minutes to put together, and then the performance aspects is what I really enjoy about this kind of setup. That was kind of my journey so far in a few minutes. Now let's look at the actual rack itself and how I use it. So there's a couple of things I'd like to talk about before we get started on the rack, and the first is that this setup is not exclusive to the OP1. I think any kind of multi-track device is going to thrive with this kind of setup. So that could be like an MPC or a model cycles or a model samples, or a lot of the Electron stuff that allows you to multi-track, or like an SP404 for example. But obviously bonus points if you do have a keyboard. Just personally, I like to play as I go. And the next thing is I do have an external power module in the case, and that's because I got the nifty case second hand and it worked fine for a while, and then it's just kind of stopped working. And I have asked Create Audio about it, and they're going to send me a replacement power supply when they have them back in stock. So hopefully this is just a temporary measure. Let's move on to the rack, and let's start with Pamela's new workout. This is the beating heart of my system. It basically clocks everything, and it means that this is in time with this. So let's take a look at how that works. So I've got a beat running at 125 BPM, and I've set palms to 125 BPM, and I'm just going to hit this in time. It can be clocked externally, and I've actually made a video about that, but I'm quite comfortable with just hitting it in time when I need it. And what this is doing currently is channel 5 is clocking beads, so every time beads receives a gate from palms, it will play a seed. Very simple, and kind of the same thing with Data Bender. I've got channel 1 of palms clocking Data Bender, and that means that all of the glitches are going to be in sync with my beat. Palms can actually do a whole lot more, and I've actually barely scratched the surface on it, but I do occasionally use it as a modulation source because it has some shapes that maths cannot do, such as sample and hold, though I wouldn't be surprised if someone tells me that maths can in fact do sample and hold. But I have channel 4 here going into channel 3 of maths for some attenuation. Let's bring that over to the cutoff on my filter. To hear that classic sample and hold sound. So that's just one example of what palms can do. There's a whole lot more, like quantization even, and other stuff that one day I will delve into. From there we have maths, which I have had for a very long time, and it has managed to avoid the cull simply because what it does very well. again, I basically use it very simply as a modulation source. So I have channel 4, which is a very simple rise fall envelope going into my filter cutoff. Does a lot of things very well. I've used it in the past to create kick drums and also to get into the audio rate, which might sound a bit mental over this beat, but we can certainly give it a try. Also use the 2 center channels as attenuators, and yeah, that's kind of what I'm using maths for. It could potentially be exchanged for smaller modules. That may happen in the future, but I can never really see myself selling it. Okay, so from there we have the Doepfer Multiple, which is mainly there to fill a little gap, but it can be a handy thing to have. And next we're on to the business end of the rack, the Pico Input, which I use to bring the OP1 up to modular line level. Now this is not an absolute necessity, and actually for quite a long time I didn't have an input module at all. Let's have a look at how that goes actually. So I'm just going to go OP1 straight into the Z5000. Now you can hear that it's a lot quieter. Let me bring up my compressor. It's still fine. But the problem comes when you want to start engaging certain modular effects which are designed to be handling line level. So the Data Bender has a really cool bit crush, and if I start bringing that in, it can be a bit too loud. It's actually, yeah, it's just way too loud. The first one was okay. But if I now go back to the Pico Input and bring this in, and bring in the same bit crush, it's much more usable. Still some loud jumps, which probably means that I just need to increase my input here. It's distorting, but you know, there's a balance. So yeah, let's move on to the Z5000. So the Z5000 from TipTop Audio is a multi-effect, but 95% of the time I have it in delay mode. And I like to use it just as this kind of, it's funny, I want to say drum delay, but actually everything is running through it, but it just seems that the drums are the loudest and they get the most effect. love to use it as a performance tool. Another amazing thing that it does is when you have the feedback cranked all the way up, you can get these drones happening. There are many different delay algorithms, they're all good. Really amazing for creating these textures. Oh, especially like that kind. And this is a great kind of hands-free thing that you can do whilst you're setting up another part of your track. But it can also be worth exploring some of the other algorithms. Let's go into the modulation section and see what we have with this funny little beat. So this one sounds delay based. Kind of pitch shifter thing. Whoa. That's pretty cool. It can get atonal pretty fast. So it seems like they are sort of delay based effects. You can tell that I've not explored the modulation section too often. But anytime I do, I always enjoy. So that's definitely filter there. Lovely wobbles. vibes from that one. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Let's move over to the data bender. So the data bender I typically use in a kind of leave on way at all times. But subtly, in the background, just doing little glitches and little stereo things. But it can do a lot more, and one of my favourite uses one of my favourite uses is using it as a kind of beat repeat. It really does sound incredible. And this serves me in many ways. One of them is just a nice wee bit of sort of glitching in between sections. It's also good to transition between tracks, and I've done that quite a few times. You know, you can just have this running whilst you set up the next part of your track. Or even use it to build upon. As a basis of a massive pad. It's very cool. But another thing that I like to use it for, maybe not so much live, but as an inspirational tool, if you do have a beat like this going and you feel that it's just not quite good enough, you can always try put it through the pitch shifter mode on the data bender, which works in a really cool way. It just seems to mix things up, but yet keep it in kind of tempo as it shifts. So let's check that out. I'm going to go all the way wet for this now. Because this knob is all the way down, it sounds crazy, but let's bring that up. It kind of puts a shuffle onto your beat. That was to make a sequence. Has that strange sequence on it. Likewise, if I was to bring up the notes I had in beads, they're now going to be out of tune. And I'll have to retune them. still do your glitching. Even add the repeats. And of course there are more effects, like the bit crush from earlier. Saturation, a DJ filter, whoa, and some vinyl crackle. That's how you can use the data bender. Let's move on to beads. So beads, I've made a lot of videos about beads. It can do a lot, but one thing I will say that in a live situation it's maybe not the most performance based module. I think it's really great when you have something planned for it or you're experimenting with it. But live, it can be kind of limited. Quite often what I will do is record some notes into it and hit freeze so that it's in the buffer. And one of the cool things about it is that even when you turn your case off, it does save whatever's in the buffer. So you can do that for live. It does have a reverb, which is great. Say that I'm considering swapping it out for something else, but only for my live performances. It's definitely going to be something I'll keep because as a sound designing module it is incredible, and I always come out with something that I like from it. Please check out my previous videos for an idea of what you might want to use beads for. Now from there we have the dual Dagger stereo filter, and this is a very small filter. It is, I can't even remember the HPs anymore, maybe it's 8? I think it's 8 HP, and the reason why I like it is because aid algorithm here, bear with me. But the reason I like it is because it's got 3 knobs. One of them is low pass, one of them is resonance, and the other is high pass. So this is another great performance tool to have. A DJ filter which is so small, stereo, and so simple to use is a very, very good thing. It does more. It is surprisingly deep, and one of the cool things it does is it has some panning action, which I'm going to use. Channel 3 of maths to demonstrate. Certainly, if you're wearing headphones, you're going to hear that. Now, this is definitely a cool thing for live. I've had comments before my live show that there was all kinds of cool stereo stuff going on, and the Joe Dagger is one of the reasons for that. Finally, we have the Effects Aid, a multi-effect, which I've made a couple of videos on. Now, the quality of the algorithms is what makes this module so good, as well as the size. Now, you can get bigger ones, and I believe there's even a newer one out now which has a screen, which is something I kind of want to get. And the way that this module works is that there's a list on the website of about 200 or more algorithms, and you pick 32 that you like and the order that you want them in, and install the firmware via an audio file that you play in. It takes 30 seconds and it's very easy to do. So I tend to, when I'm playing live, have them in the order that I'm going to be needing them, which, to be honest, is normally only 4 or 5 that I'll use in a live set, and then the rest you kind of forget what they are, and that's part of the fun, is the exploration. So number 1 on here is, I forget what it's called, maybe Generation Lost, and this is a really great one because it has some natural compression, some natural lo-fi-ness. You can increase the wobble. It has a DJ filter. And it has a bit crush. So it's kind of like its own multi-effect. What I sometimes tend to do when I am feeling at a loss or a lack of inspiration is just scroll through and see what comes up. Oh, now this is a good one. This is like a kind of a glitcher. That's a very good way to discover sounds that you may end up sampling and creating a new song with. Maybe especially if there was no drums playing. Let's see what else we have. And let's bring that wee sequence back. That is not the sequence. bit crush, ring mod stuff. You can see how easy it is to take a very simple beat and with all these different effects going at the same time, you can really create something that becomes multi-dimensional and super interesting. Here's an example. I don't know what this algorithm is, but I like it. We've turned into some kind of jungle thing going on here, some tribe. You could be worried for your safety. Whoop whoop whoop. And the last point I wanted to make is that I don't have an output module. I'm just coming straight out of the effects aid, and I think that's fine. If I was using oscillators in my rack that were like super hot, like rings for example, then I would have a VCA to kind of tame the levels down and stop it distorting, but it's absolutely fine running this kind of setup without an output module. Sorry, I'm just laughing at this unexpected turn that this has gone. I really like that though, you know. What kind of effect is this? There's some delay in there. Madness. The type of madness that I love. So yeah, if today's video has been enjoyable for you, then please leave a like and a comment and a subscribe, etc, etc, and I'll catch you all next time. Take it easy.